Welcome to the Digital Amateur Television Experimenters Night. This is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania. Amateur radio is a worldwide hobby that has many different aspects. Digital television is just one of the many modes and areas that are covered. Maybe you're interested in becoming involved in the DATV Experimenters Nights. Do you realise that you do not have to be a radio amateur or need any ATV equipment to participate anywhere in the world? Also participate in the night by coming up to the Queen's Domain club rooms. Yes, right on top of the Queen's Domain in the heritage-listed Coast Wireless Station. You never know, we might get you in front of the camera or behind doing one of the many roles during the night. We get underway with our program on a Wednesday night from 7:30pm local time. We'll see you soon. This is VK7 OTC.
Okay, this is echo. This is VK7 OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night. And I have Rex VK7MO in the studio. Good evening, Rex.
Thank you.
And I also have
Justin.
Richard VK7ZBX. Woo! So just before we get underway, and the reason why I've got Rex in the studio, I'll just remind people a little bit, they can call in on repeater 2. They can also call in on the YouTube chat channel. That's now live, and we're monitoring that. And the last thing that I really need to remind people of is the ACMA submission. Please make a submission towards the proposed changes to licence conditions. Read what's out there, make a decision, and please make a submission to the ACMA, letting them know what your what particular option you're proposing. We are, for REAST members, getting together a template letter which we've drafted, that we're going to distribute to REAST members, that they can use, they can amend, they can change, they can do what they like, but all the information that the ACMA is asking for is structured in that particular letter. So we're going to be distributing that to REAST members in a couple of days' time. So watch out for that in your email inbox. So, Rex, good evening.
Hello, Justin.
Now, Rex is here to talk about aircraft scatter. So just bear with me. Just bear with me, and we'll get the presentation, which is that one there, and start it going, and then auto-magically go to here, Okay, that's what we're looking at.
Thank you, Justin. Now, just a bit of background. I've been playing with Q65, mainly 60D and 120E with Rhett.
Yep.
And each time an aircraft crossed the path, we could see the strong aircraft signals, but they never really interfered with anything.
So you saw that Doppler shift, that
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you didn't really see the Doppler shift, but you saw the stronger signals
Yes, okay.
on those modes.
Enhancement. Yep.
I was in contact with Chip Angle, N6CA, who said that he's been doing very well with Q65, and what he'd done is he'd gone down to the 15-second and the 30-second modes, which I hadn't tried because they're not as sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the advantage of going down to 15 seconds is your actual transmit period's only about 12 seconds.
Yep.
And the Doppler shift is proportionally less than it is over 60 seconds or 120 seconds.
Okay.
So I suggested to Rhett that we give it a try, and I was very surprised. Now,
My first surprise is there's actual flights that you can use.
there are not a lot. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Okay.
The Chip Angle and his group are doing these tests between roughly Los Angeles and Phoenix on a 600-kilometre path.
Okay.
And getting good results. They're not exactly in. They're in the, I guess, outer suburbs of these cities, and so they're not exactly lined up with the aircraft paths. Probably because the runway, the aircraft are not lined up at the centre of the city anyway.
Okay.
But they've probably got about 20 degrees offset.
Okay.
And it's coping really well. Now, I did a lot of aircraft scatter about 8 years ago. JT65 would work if the aircraft flew very close to the
path.
The path.
Yep.
And we went to iSCAT, which effectively works out its Doppler every 1.1 or 2.2 seconds.
Yep.
And can cope with an aircraft crossing at right angles. So,
Yeah. Okay.
anyway, we tried. Rhett and I tried 15C. Now, the advantage of 15C is, for a start, it's only 15 seconds.
Yep.
And the C mode is the widest that is presently available. So
the widest tone spacing. Yeah. Okay.
about 26 hertz tone spacing.
Okay.
So it gives you a much better chance that you can cope with the Doppler.
Yep. Okay.
Next slide. Well, that's exactly what I've just explained.
Okay. Cool. Next slide.
This is the black line between me and Rhett is the path of propagation, and this is an aircraft that is flying initially from Hobart using the NDB at Launceston,
and
then diverting off to Sydney.
Yep. Okay.
Unfortunately, there are very few aircraft flying to Sydney at the moment, so you've got to be you've got to plan it.
Opportunistic, yes.
Yeah. And we'll now go to the next slide, and here's the decodes I got from Rhett.
-3.
That's right. And bear in mind, he's only running 10 watts.
Wow.
And he set it up so that it was automatically sending the signal reports, so they're coming down the other side.
Yep.
Now, if we go to the next slide...
Q3 is the matter of interest.
Yes.
No. Okay, moving on.
Well, you can see some Q0s and Q3s.
Or is this certainty? No.
I think I'd rather not explain it because I'm a bit confused about it.
Okay.
Joe is quite convinced what it means, but every time I read it, I get confused.
Right. Okay.
That's Joe Taylor, by
Yes.
the way. Now you can see on the left there's the time, and they're advancing in 15 seconds, because what I've done is I've combined the decodes that I got and the decodes that
He got
Rhett got.
an 8.
And there's a +8 and there's a +10.
Flippin' heck.
Yes, that's a strong signal. Now, you'll notice that the signal's generally weak at the start and the end because the aircraft's off to the side.
Yeah. Okay.
But as it gets near the centre of the path,
Yep.
it gets quite strong, and even the 10 watts gets up to -3 dB.
So we're talking about what, 3 minutes there? That's
29 up to 3130. It's only a minute and a half.
yeah. Okay.
Yes. But in 15-second periods,
Okay.
if you're quick, you can easily have a QSO.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide.
Next slide. Now, this is the waterfall where I've put Rhett's files together with mine.
Okay.
And you can see there's a sloping line on the left, which is the sync tone for Q65. And there's also a vertical line which you can really only see at Rhett's end, which is me transmitting in troposcatter. So
So it's
Rhett's picking up my troposcatter, but because we're going to the 15-second mode,
Yep.
it's for troposcatter, it's 6 dB worse than it is in the 60-second mode.
Yep. Okay.
And while he can see my 90 watts, I can't see his 10 on tropo.
Okay.
But I can certainly see his aircraft scatter, and you can see it skewing off
That line there.
that line, and that's probably about 200 hertz
Yeah. Okay.
that's moved, and you can see the brighter sort of orangey parts,
Yep.
which is when the signal got really strong, like plus
Yeah.
10 dB. But even in that same 15-second period, you'll notice it's strong at the start, then it's got weak.
Yeah.
And-
And same down here, and
Well, this was more even, but well,
Yeah.
perhaps stronger just right at the start and at the end, you know. Now this is all different scattering off the aircraft,
Yep.
because the aircrafts are
not a uniform shape.
shaped, that's right.
Yeah.
So that's sort of to be expected.
Okay.
Wow.
Next.
Next slide. Now this shows, it just expands on that stronger one and shows there's about 35 hertz of Doppler variation over that full transmit period, and yet the tone space is only 27 hertz,
Yep.
and yet it's decoding fine.
Well, there you go.
Now, Joe Taylor says that Q65 is more immune. I don't think Joe uses these words, but effectively what he means is it copes better with spreading
Variation.
than some of the other modes.
Much better if it's only 27 hertz bandwidth
Yes.
effectively. And
Well,
that's
normally
absolutely
if you move more than half a bin, then the next bin is the one that's picking it up.
Yep.
So there's some things in this Q65 that I think are very clever,
fine. So it may actually be looking further afield.
and somehow picking up the peak. But even that doesn't sort of make sense when they're all going to be shifted.
No,
by,
well and truly. But is it doing something like it's calculating a shift and then shifting everything that?
I
and
don't
then-
think it calculates a shift.
Oh, okay.
It'd be nice if he did, but I don't think he does anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, he's made it very clear that unlike JT65, which included automatic frequency
Tracking.
tracking,
Yep.
he he's working with these new modes on the basis that if anyone really wants to use them, they should properly GPS log their radios. And he's not going to try and fix a problem that really should be fixed
through other means.
Through other means by locking. So I don't think he will ever compensate for the frequency shift, although
Well, it doesn't need to, because by the look of that, the mode it copes with it.
it does. And well, it's very hard to tell without doing a pass on on iSCAT at the same time.
Yep.
It seems to me it's a lot more sensitive
Okay.
than iSCAT.
Cool.
So next slide.
Now, I'll just turn that down a little bit.
Now,
What are we listening to here?
okay, that was the strongest part of the aircraft scatter as it passed the very close to the centre of the path.
Much stronger.
It decoded at plus 10 dB.
Okay.
The next one, this is the strongest part that I got from REAST 10 watts. Still quite audible. I think there's a different level, so that, but the signal to noise ratio is still quite good.
Yeah. It's -3, well and truly.
You know, and
Compared
then this
to-
one decoded at -19, and you won't hear anything.
Just sounds like noise.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's yeah. Wow. Difference.
Now, of course, as opposed to something like troposcatter, you only get this for at the most sort of a minute and a half when an aircraft passes,
Yes.
but it is much stronger than troposcatter. I mean, the troposcatter is typically down at -22 to -27.
Okay.
Rain scatter can get up to plus 5 dB, but this is getting up to plus 10, so
Wow.
it's potentially for a very short period much shorter.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the only way. Troposcatter and troposcatter certainly works to about almost 600 kilometres.
Okay.
Rain scatter is very strong at 600 kilometres, so you'd think it's probably going to work a fair bit beyond that.
Yep.
And the aircraft scatter will work to the limit where both stations can see the aircraft, which is about 900 kilometres.
Yeah. Okay.
And with good takeoffs at both ends.
Yeah, with a plane that's what, at 35,000 feet or something.
Well, 40,000
Yeah,
feet,
40,000 feet, yeah,
and
okay.
so forth.
Okay.
So if you're looking for grid squares, aircraft scatter is the only way you'll work the sort of distances in between sort of 600 and 900
Yep.
kilometres.
And that's how you gave David all his grid
Grid
squares.
squares, that's
'cause
right.
That was aircraft scatter.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
all aircraft scatter, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, next slide. Now the odd thing is the tone spacings are 26 Hertz and we're coping very well. Now Chip N6CA, he used the 15B mode on a 600 kilometre path,
Okay.
and that's only got 13 Hertz tone spacing, and it worked with about 35 Hertz of Doppler variation.
Wow.
Now that suggests the C mode could probably work up to about 70 Hertz.
Yep.
And that might allow a crossing of about 50 degrees. So,
Okay.
now the interesting thing is to find a path where an aircraft crosses at about 50 degrees, which doesn't happen for us down here in Tassie, because
Because they're all coming north-south.
that's right. Now there are occasional planes that fly from New Zealand to South Africa,
But that's
I-
east-west.
and there are more than 50 degrees.
Correct.
So
They definitely fly at the 40,000 feet, I reckon.
they do. So,
see the jet trails.
and I'm not sure that there are any flying between New Zealand and South Africa at the moment.
Correct. Correct.
So, next slide. iSCAT versus Q65, both can run in 15 seconds periods to focus on these single peaks that only can last, well, if the aircraft's flying along the path, they might run for 5 or 10 seconds,
Yep.
but if the aircraft's crossing the path, those little peaks can be less than a second. iSCAT can correct for Doppler every 1.1 or in iSCAT A and 2.2 seconds in iSCAT B.
Okay.
So it can copy the very wide Doppler variation that you encounter with a crossing aircraft.
Yep.
Q65 appears to be more sensitive, certainly for paths which are less than 30 degrees, perhaps even up to 50 degrees. It's likely that Q65 will be the preferred mode for aircraft scatter.
Oh.
And similarly, this is at 10 gig, so if you want to do
Yeah.
aircraft scatter at 2 metres where the Doppler shift is proportionally less,
Yep. then
almost in all circumstances
Q65.
Q65 is the mode to use.
Well, it might. This is another knife in Joe's Swiss Army knife mode.
Yes, that's right. that's right. And in fact, Joe is trying to clean up WSJTX by getting rid of modes that are not frequently used.
Okay.
And there is a bit of a debate about removing iSCAT.
Okay. Well, this might be supporting evidence.
Well, he actually removed it in the latest release, so, and a couple of Europeans got upset. But I mean, there are situations with crossing aircraft where iSCAT is the only mode that's going to work, I suspect.
Yeah.
But it's worth putting a lot more effort into what are the limits of Q65.
In early days.
That's right. Now, in principle, Joe can make, this is a 15C, he
Yep.
can make a 15D and double the tone spacing,
Yep.
and a 15E.
Yep.
The problem is the bandwidth now gets very wide,
Yep.
and it's only going to work if you've got 5
linear.
or 10 kc,
Yeah.
which some of the SDRs, I think your Hermes
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. Well and truly.
So
It's flat for a long.
Yeah.
Well, for the up to 10 was what we tried it at.
yeah.
So
Potentially, you could probably do
wow.
Q65 with crossing aircraft with those very wide modes.
Okay.
Okay,
That's impressive.
that's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so let's go back to.
But certainly plus 10 dB is stronger than we see on anything else, even if it was only for 15 seconds.
No. Well, that's fantastic, Rex, and and supporting evidence for more that Q65 can potentially do. So that's incredible.
I mean, the area where iSCAT will win is with crossing aircraft, and that's really only used where you're scratching to find grid squares where there's just no inline aircraft.
Yeah. Okay.
And probably very few people try and do what David and I did.
Well, yeah. You had the advantage where you could actually go and look for inline locations.
Except we couldn't find inline aircraft.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, if you go out to sort of Western Queensland,
Yep.
the only aircraft you can use are ones that are going Brisbane to Adelaide,
Yeah. Okay.
and they're at right angles.
They're going across the continent.
Yes.
So. Okay. No. Well, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you
that's
very
it.
much. Thank you very much, Rex. What we might. Oh yeah. Sorry. You can have that. We'll just do a quick reset of the
Seat shuffle here.
of the studio and get Richard in here.
Good, Richard.
Cool. And welcome, Richard VK7ZBX. How would you be?
Oh, I'm very well.
And you've been on the water today.
Yes, been out playing on some of the barges, doing some stuff. It's really good. An
Cool.
early start. It's
Cool.
great.
Excellent.
Great.
Now, Richard's here to remind us that there is something happening this weekend.
There is a competition happening. The John Moyle Field Day is occurring.
Cool.
And we're going to have a little bit of a lash at it, amongst a few other things, as it turns out. But I'm planning to go up to Mt Wellington to operate in the usual spot, which is at QE37 Oscar Charlie. It's affectionately known as Richard and Rex's spot, but I'm sure there's a lot of others have been there. Hayden and many others.
Juffy.
Juffy,
Yeah, Juffy was the first one.
Juffy, not
There
the
you
Juffy
go.
spot.
My goodness. Annie.
Which has got a really good outlook to the sort of northeast, northwest-ish.
Yep.
Not very good as it turns out to the east.
And New Zealand.
Yeah, which is probably a bit of a shame for this weekend. But the plan is I'm going to try and be active on VHF and above. So I'm going to have just a vertical for 6 metres. So I'll be able to listen on 525 and 50.1.
Cool.
2 metres sort of SSB, like 144, 150 and
On the
146.5 on 7 8 element LFA.
Cool.
On 70 centimetres I'll have I think it's a 16 element DL6WU.
Okay.
On 432, 150 or 439.
Okay.
Which is quite an interesting range for that Yagi, but anyway, very interesting.
I'm impressed.
Not sure it works that well at 439, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so I have 1296, 1296 150
Cool.
on FM or SSB
Okay.
to work. Hopefully, all the plethora of the people that come on Rex's 23 centimetre net
Excellent.
have had 23. So if we can have, let's be reasonable. I think 15, 16 people come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
There was a couple other bands will have 2.4 gigs and
Okay.
3.4 gigs to work. Hopefully, Peter up
Yep.
north at White Hills.
Cool.
10 gigs to work. Hopefully, Peter at White Hills.
Oh.
And to work Rex, of course. And anybody else that's got 10 gig gear in the cupboard, which we don't think there is. But anyway.
No, it's me, and I'm not taking it with me when
Yes.
I go to Ross. So I'm only taking 23 centimetres.
This time, thanks to Rex's being kind of, I've also got 24 gigs, which will only be working Rex, but still, it's another band, and it's all
Lovely.
So that's the plan. So
Okay.
as was in the broadcast, it's divided up. You can either do a 6-hour thing or a 24-hour thing, or
Yep.
VHF only, or HF, and lots of categories.
Options.
I'm planning to do the VHF and
Okay.
up
Okay.
and do a 6-hour one. So,
Okay.
as I mentioned in the broadcast, it's divided up into. It's a little bit different to the RD and other field days.
Yeah.
It's divided up into 3-hour blocks.
Yep.
So you can work the same person. You can't work the same person in the same block.
Yep.
But of course, you can be a bit clever, and if you're a bit sort of stretched for time, if you can sort of make it somewhere between, like, the first block starts at 0100 UTC and goes to 0400, if you can sort of be there sort of a half hour or so before that one finishes, and then sort of hang around for half hour into the other one, then you can sort of give out 2 lots of numbers
Rework.
and then sort of go about
It's great.
doing other things. So that's sort of something that for maybe people to think of if they're a bit sort of short for time.
Cool.
There is an update to the VKCL that I noticed the other night. I'm
Thank
not
you for that.
quite sure why, but
Okay.
I did download the new version.
Okay.
And it's pretty important for people to probably download, if they're going to use it, to probably download the latest version, because
Correct.
we don't know
What's been updated?
what's been updated, so it's always best to probably do that.
Yep.
And it's pretty important for people too to discover where their grid square is.
Yes. And there are Richard's
Tons of apps.
correct, tons of apps, but also Richard supplied a very helpful URL in the broadcast, which enables you to work that out.
It's actually a web-based thing where you
It's great. You put yourself on the map, and it tells you.
where you are. But
Yeah,
if you can get an overlay for Google Maps, or Google Earth,
Can
and there's lots of like GPS apps and things. But
lovely.
but look, hopefully people can get out and about. Look, there's lots of little spots I looked at. Places like down the south, Mount Rumney.
Yep. Yeah.
Sort of Rosny Hill. That you could quite easily just go for a bit of a drive with the mobile rig in the car, and
Hey.
maybe even note down a few things like on a piece of paper and then sort of transpose them sort of later perhaps. So
I love it. I love your work.
that's the plan. And it looks like it's going to be a nice day. Goodness gracious, fancy doing a field day and it not raining and snowing and blowing and goodness.
We won't know ourselves. We'll probably all get sunburned. Yes.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
No, slip, slop, slap. So, no, very good. Thank you, Richard. I'm intending to operate from Ross. We also on the weekend is the Ross Meet the Voice barbecue all happens on the Sunday, but a group goes up to the Ross Caravan Park and camps for the night, and it's a wonderful opportunity to operate portable, which is what the John Moyle is all about, is getting out and testing your portable capability. So it's all about that. So I will be
Flying
operating
the flag up there and hopefully trying to get lots of people to fire up their 2 metre rig.
Well and truly, and I take HF and I'm taking the 23 centimetre with me, so I will be able to point in a variety of directions, hopefully, and give some people some 23 centimetres as well as some HF.
Groovy.
So yeah, and I am taking the 705, and I am taking a small little linear with me as well, so it'll be a bit more than 10 watts. So we'll try. I haven't tried out the 705 into an amplifier yet, but I will be doing it on the weekend, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm sure the 10 kVA genset will be enough.
So yeah, there are you might want to check out the rules around that if you go portable. But anyway, that's fantastic.
That's really good.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for your efforts in taking all of this equipment and all of this stuff up to a location that is not necessarily easy to get to, etc., etc. So yes.
No, well, hopefully there might even be a change of position yet. I don't know, because there might be some other activities happening on Saturday morning, but we'll leave that maybe for.
Yes.
What time does it start?
It starts at 0100 UTC, so 12
At
o'clock.
12 o'clock.
So
So
12
there's still a
o'clock.
good chance of doing something with Roger.
Yeah,
Before
Or then it cuts down the time you've got to set up.
That's okay. I'd be happy with that.
If you're working set out.
But set on 10 gigs, I'll be
Yeah.
happy with.
Now that you've got everybody intrigued by what you're saying, would you like to let us know what you're going to try?
Well, Rex has been planning with Roger another attempt at
Rex is still in the studio.
at working across to New Zealand on 10 gigs. So the Hepburn charts are looking good, and Rex has been very studious and looking at the radio som data, and there's a duct that's sort of formed, and it's actually getting a bit stronger at our end. And if you sort of look at the Hepburns and look at the radio som data, it's looking quite promising, I think is the correct term.
Worth a try.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact
Worth a try.
terminology, but it's not an exact science, of course, but Rex is certainly going to set up. He's been very busy beavering away making a mount to be able to mount his dish
Yes.
in a fairly interesting spot on the next door neighbours.
No.
Oh, and your place. That's right, on your place this year, this time. So I spent a bit of time today and looked at some places up on Mt Wellington that are not quite at the same spot. So when's that? So that's Wednesday. Yep.
There we go. We can see some
That was awesome.
some activity starting.
So that's 6
across.
o'clock Saturday morning. I don't know. And that's 11 o'clock. So that's.
Go back.
So
Yeah.
that's 6 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's 11 o'clock in the morning. So that's
And that's where it starts to head up. the
and
coast.
that's sort of 0600. That's sort of mid-afternoon on Saturday.
Yeah.
Where
So,
those of us that'll be at
in
an elevated
here-
height may well be looking to work into New Zealand, not only on 10 gigs, but like goodness, hopefully 2 metres, 70 centimetres, 1296.
Well, true. Very nice.
And there might even be a little bit sort of happening to VK3 perhaps, VK5. What?
Yeah.
Well, there's certainly some stuff going on across to VK6.
Not sure if the spot on the mountain, I might have to relocate again. If
Yes. There's
VK6, looking into VK6, I might have to be getting up in the middle of the car park up there or something.
Yeah, that's about the only place you could do it for VK6.
Excuse me.
Yeah, excuse me. Excuse me.
But yeah, Rex has got a picture of the structure that he's made for his front steps to enable him to. So you're going to use the 77 centimetre system, or the 1.2?
77. Otherwise, there's a fair chance that I'll break something.
Zoom in here. So what are we looking at here, Rex? We're looking at your front steps.
Yes, there's a tripod there, and I've put a concrete block and then a brick on it, which I've dynabolted to the concrete block.
Cool.
And previously I had that set up on my neighbour's to the right of that tree.
Yep. Up in the garden, yes, sorry.
Up in the garden, but that didn't quite give me a clear takeoff.
Okay.
This is the optimum position, and to make it work, I have trimmed the tree a bit.
Right. Okay.
Beautifully trimmed.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Excellent.
So part of the whole reason for this, one of the reasons we want to do is it'll allow us to compare the results, if we're both successful, between Rex's place being at about 380 metres.
320.
320. Giving the extra 60 metres.
Yes.
Pretty good. And if I'm set up where I propose to be, that'll
Yep.
be at about 1,070, I think.
Yes.
1,000. So if the duct is around about, we're looking at this stage of maybe 1,100 oddish, or beginning at 1,100.
Okay.
Well, beginning at about 1,000, which means you should be
in it.
Should be in it. Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see the
Well,
actual
I'm sure
propagation results between, the
being
two
below
different
the duct and being in it.
Well and truly. And see whether there's an advantage to being in it.
Yes.
Well, all sort
Surely.
of science points to the fact if you're in it, then it should work better because you don't have to lose that bit where you
The
sort
entry.
of yeah.
Mm.
So it's a little bit like the LEDs,
Okay.
isn't it? Really, just every time we think we've come up with a plan,
A
someone
cunning
changes the data.
It's a cunning plan,
The
Baudry.
plan doesn't fit.
Yes.
it.
Well, that's next week's DATV Experimentals Night.
Yeah.
Well,
Taken care of. That is excellent. So look forward to what's happening on the weekend in a range of things. So
so
cool.
And look, if people out there listening in Tassie, maybe they've got some 2 metre equipment that can sort of go down to SSB, 144 SSB, and probably a horizontal Yagi would probably be best. But
Yeah.
if the conditions are really good, maybe just have a bit of a listen and maybe listen for some beacons on 2 metres and
Well and truly.
70 centimetres and 1296 if you have it. Like, you just never know.
Correct.
And people say the band is dead. Maybe it's worth following up on probably the one, obviously the usual sort of 144.1 perhaps.
Yep.
And just making a few calls, and you just never know. Everybody says the band is dead until someone calls, and then it's on. So
It's go back to what
And some of the
Roger
signals-
keeps saying. It's always open somewhere.
and some of the
To
signals
somewhere.
on 2 metres are just like absolutely really quite strong. Like if the conditions are right, it'll be really strong. So
Cool. Fantastic. I look forward to some results next time. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
thank you.
All right, we'll just reset and go into the rest. You can leave that open.
Open a bit.
It's pretty hot in here. All right. Okay, and this is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night. Now, I just wanted to. There was a bit of a story on the just let me change that. Bit of a story on the broadcast last week. About the recently recently uploaded. Just let me close this and close this, and we'll find what we're looking for in a sec. And again, now if I click on here, okay, there was the story followed up. Reg Emmett, VK7KK, and myself, who are the two AMC assessors for REAST, back in November of last year, recorded one of our foundation license training sessions with the permission of the group that was undertaking the training, and we've edited these into a series of 10 modules that follow the foundation license syllabus version 10, so the latest syllabus, with introduction, the nature of amateur radio, license conditions, technical basics, transmitters and receivers, transmission lines and antennas, propagation, interference and safety, and we finish off with a module on the practical assessment. So that was a bit of expectation management around what people can expect when we undertake the practical assessment. So they are all available. They're a variety of lengths. Some are sort of 20 minutes long, some are 30 minutes long, some are even shorter than that. So they are now available on the REAST YouTube channel. There is now a playlist on the REAST YouTube channel called REAST Training and Assessment, and those 10 videos are up there for anybody to access, to run through, and it follows basically a foundation training day format, where from 9 AM through until about 12 we go through these slide packs with the candidates, and they can ask questions, and there are questions asked in the in this particular video. These videos, you can hear the candidates ask questions and all sorts of things. So so it's basically what we go through on a Saturday morning, and then we have lunch, and then we go into the practical assessment, and then the theory assessment, and then all the paperwork, and people are out of there by sort of 2:30, 3 o'clock. So it's a good bit of a refresher. It's a bit about what we do, and it would be great if you could actually have the foundation manual if you go through these and you're intending to take the assessment. One of the prerequisites we put on it is that the foundation manual you go through the foundation manual as well, and the foundation manual is structured in a very similar way. So there are these sort of sections as you go through the foundation manual, so it does follow the syllabus as well. So anyway, that's just a bit of a plug for the training videos that are available on the now on the REAST YouTube channel. So now, one of the things that I was going to go through is I was going to call on our oh, hang on, what I've done here, I've actually started one of the videos, just bear with me. Don't want that to suddenly come to life. So one of the things that I was in Launceston a couple of weekends ago, and did a number of things up there. The last week we covered the Mount Arthur SATA activation and going up to Mount Arthur and the repeater site, the NTARC's repeater site. One of the other things I did was go to Tamar Island. And for those who don't know Launceston, as you go out of Launceston towards the north, you follow you follow the Tamar River north, and on one side is the East Tamar Highway, and then there's the west, obviously the West Tamar Highway. on the East Tamar Highway, as you head out, there is a lot of wetlands off to your right as you head up to Exeter and Beaconsfield and further afield, and up to Georgetown on the other side, etc., etc. So there is a wonderful wetland interpretation centre there. That if you're into bird watching in any way, shape or form, I highly recommend it if you haven't been there. They have set up a whole lot of little hides that you can sit there and watch all these birds. I counted I think 10 or 12 birds when I was there. It was just phenomenal. There were egrets there were herons, there were pelicans, there were many type of bush hens. I lost the count of the number of ducks, etc., etc. So well worth a look. But there is a boardwalk that takes you all the way out through the wetlands and out to Tamar Island, which is an island. It's probably only, I don't know, 25 metres or something in height. Not very big, not very high. Reasonably large. There's a wharf there, so you can come in from the water, and there's barbecues there. There's toilets. There's all sorts of facilities, and I think it's quite a popular area for Launcestonians to take a picnic basket and head to Tamar Island. But one of the things that I found, which really intrigued me, and it was one of those things where you look at it and go, really? How did that get there? So one of these things is, and I'll just put it on the screen. So here it is. Now, what? In fact, I might go to the next slide because it's a bit... Yeah. Here we have, what we're looking at here is an oak tree. Now there are some big, really old, over 100-year-old type oak trees on the top of Tamar Island. So it's obviously had European inhabitants for quite a while. But these oak trees, when you take a closer look at this oak tree, you can see that there is a stump jump plough, a cast iron stump jump plough that is actually grown into the tree. Now, for it to have grown into the middle of this particular tree, I think it's probably been there for at least, I don't know, 50 or 60 years, at least, if not more. And it is a stump jump plough. For those who don't know, a stump jump plough is a manual plough that was pulled by a horse or a bullock. It had a wheel on the front which hopefully jumped you over the stump before the ploughshare, which is actually all embedded into the wood here, before the ploughshare actually hit the stump and dug you in. The wheel hopefully jumped over the stump and you could keep going without too much disruption. So that's what a stump jump plough is. But we're talking about a plough that was pulled by either a horse or a bullock or a cow. So we're talking about probably that plough being well over 100 years old in a tree that I suspect is probably, I don't know, 80 or 90 years old at least. So if anybody out there can tell me the story of the stump jump plough that is grown into the oak tree, I would be much appreciative of the advice. Now I think there's a few other pictures I took here. This is, if you walk all the way through across Tamar Island, you get to a wharf. There is a little wharf that you can actually tie a boat up to, so you can get to Tamar Island via the water. And I suspect quite a few people do that. This is actually a panorama from the north on the left to the south on the right. So the south, if you zoom into this part, that's actually Launceston right there. So yeah, but I think there might be another one here. Not quite sure. Oh yeah, slightly different angle, and this is Launceston here. So this is looking from the east to the west, with Launceston right in the middle. So, but I could not get over this this stump jump plough in the tree. It's one of those things you look at and you go, how the hell did that get there? And especially given when that particular plough would have been taken across to the island, there was no easy way of getting it there other than by a boat, or it would have only been boat. It wouldn't have been anything else. So there is a story that someone told me about a bull on Tamar Island. So maybe it relates to the bull on Tamar Island. I'm not really quite sure. But anyway, a plough on Tamar Island embedded into the the oak tree. Now, to finish off today, what I'm going to do, just a quick review of the latest AR magazine. Now, the next one is about to hit as well, so they are coming thick and fast from Roger VK7-ZL, the editor of AR magazine. The focus of this one, and I'll bring it up on the focus of this one, zoom out a little bit, is exactly what it says: digital TV. And there's Jessica on the front cover. So for those who aren't familiar with AR magazine, a great publication, very technically focused, nationally focused. Bit of a board comment editorial, some news, and the news there, funnily enough, is the new 2380 kilometre VK-ZL record set on 2400 megs by Richard and Hayden. So there's a bit of VK7 news in there. Digital amateur television, which, what and why, and this is the cover article by Dale VK1DSH. Digital amateur TV station. This is Dale's digital amateur TV station using the French design. And all the technical detail that goes with it. So a focus on there. Another article by Roger Jordan VK5YYY on his path of digital television. And the VK5 RDC repeater up in the Iron Triangle. Now we go on to, hang on, stuck page here. A vertical beam for 7 megahertz in suburbia by Doc Westcombe Down, VK5BUG bug. Visualising your electromagnetic radiation limits with Google Earth, and this is by our very own Martin Luther, VK7GN. So he goes into an article about electromagnetic radiation and how you can use Google Earth to calculate. How to mount a VHF UHF field day multi-operator station and win your category without losing friends, breaking the bank or going bonkers, by Kevin Johnson, Scott Watson and Colin Cortina. So a great article about their VHF UHF field day station. Very impressive station too, and they rightfully deserve to take it out. VHF UHF An Expanding World by David Minchin, VK5KK. There's a little bit on the Deal Island optical contact, which we've got a video of tonight in our video section. Also the 122 gig arrangements and the experimenting that's going on there. Meteor Scatter Report by Kevin, VK4UH. Soter and Parks section, DX Talk section. There is a Lara section by Jenny, and over to you. So this is where they take editorial comments. The VK6 news in here, WIA awards, and that's it. So fairly a full, definitely a full magazine, and yeah, of 64 pages. And there's another one about to hit, which has got some great content and technical content in it as well. So well worth the subscription, and you can get it. You get it a whole lot cheaper if you actually become a member of the WIA, other than buying it in the newsagents. So it's a whole lot cheaper if you're actually a member of the WIA. So that's an incentive. You can get a digital version of it as well. So there you go. So quick reminders. Our presentation night for April, our REAST presentation night for April. Andrew Elwell from the Pawsey Supercomputing Centre in Western Australia. Andrew is a sysadmin with Pawsey. He's actually based down here in Tasmania, and does it remotely. He's talking about the Pawsey Supercomputing Centre, but also their involvement in the square kilometre array analysis. So one not to be missed. That's on first Wednesday night in April. Then the first Wednesday night in May is another great presentation by Mike Groff, VK7MJ, on lightning whistlers and other phenomena in that space. So first Wednesday night in May, 7:30, up here in the Queen's Domain club rooms. And quickly, Meet the Voice. Meet the Voice is happening this weekend. It all happens on the Sunday. Starts around about 11 a.m. in the Ross Caravan Park. So you're most welcome to come up. Bring your snags and chops and whatever else, and the barbecues will be hot. And of course, Richard, just reiterating Richard's segment on the John Moyle Memorial Field Day, which focuses on portable operation. Now, our videos for tonight for our RF viewers, for those who didn't see it, the Ham Radio DX ACMA proposal Q&A forum, which happened on Monday night, we're replaying that. And then a couple of, there's one on the Big Deal Island light beam test, which is featured in the AR magazine. And then a funny little segment on why pi to the power of pi to the power of pi to the power of pi could well be an integer number in the end. So a bit of some interesting mathematics to twist the brain and finish up on. So that's our show for tonight. Thanks for watching and listening, and I hope you got something out of the DATV night tonight. There'll be another broadcast same time and same frequencies and YouTube streaming channels, etc. next week. And so this is VK7 Tango Whiskey for VK7 OTC, which is the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania, with our DATV Experimenters Night and 73, and we'll catch you on the air on the weekend in the John Moyle, and if we don't do that, it'll be next week, 73.